right, we note the absence of Paul Goldrick, who is ill tonight. And no, we hope he doesn't have that. Need approval of the regular meeting minutes of February 10th of 2010, the Personnel Committee meeting minutes of February 13th, 2020, the Personnel Committee meeting minutes of February 18th, 2020, and Personnel Committee meeting of March 3rd of 2020. Any discussion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Weissel?
Yes.
Ducius?
Yes.
Hernandez?
Yes.
Pappas?
Yes.
Missouri?
Yes.
Herman?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Need approval of the executive session meeting minutes of February 10th, 2010, Personnel Committee executive session meeting minutes of February 13th, 2020, Personnel Committee executive session meeting minutes of February 18th, 2020, and Personnel Committee executive session meeting minutes of March 3rd, 2020.
So moved.
Second. Okay, Ducius?
Yes.
Hernandez?
Yes.
Pappas?
Yes.
Missouri?
Yes.
Herman?
Yes.
And Weissel.
Yes.
Motion carried.
We need approval of the March 2020 expenses. Any questions? You do have additional bills in your packet.
I'll motion to approve the bills. Second.
Okay, Hernandez?
Yes.
Pappas?
Yes.
Missouri?
Yes.
Herman?
Yes.
Weissel?
Yes.
And Ducius? Yes. Motion carried.
All right, before we go to the treasurer's report, turn it over to Mr. Missouri for a recognition.
Yeah, the PTO, we've had many come here, many teachers, technology, but PTO has never been recognized by the board. And I asked the board president if we can recognize you guys for all you do. One, you guys, everything you do for the schools, staff, just everything you guys do. So I wanted to take tonight and just recognize the PTO, that you guys, for all the time you give. It's free time on your guys' behalf, away from your family and your kids, just as we do as a school board. But thank you from the bottom of my heart. And everybody in the board feels the same way.
If I could echo, it is, I know from being on it with you ladies, that it is never, just sunshines and rainbows. I know that there's a lot of the opposite, and you guys still go on despite that, which is huge. And I just think that not everybody in the community or whatever realize every single thing that you guys do, and whether it's to appreciation food and every little thoughtful thing you guys do. Just thank you.
And we'd like to point out the new, there we go, the new playground equipment for spearheading and taking on part of that financial responsibility. And everybody in the community is very thankful for that, for the looks and for the safety. Thank you. All right, Mike, you're up.
All right. The balance in the Super Now account at the end of February was $51,830.02. We finished February with $37,134.46 in outstanding checks, leaving the adjusted bank balance at $14,695.56. The lunch program balance of $25,716.50, impressed fund $5,000, leaving the total balances at $45,412.06. The investment balances at the end of the month were $12,564,148.45, leaving the balance of all funds at the end of February at $12,609,560.81. February receipts were $994,657.81. Expenses were $1,012,130.64. The fund balances were as follows. The education fund, $5,956,642.05. The building fund, $2,505,722.44. Bond and interest, minus $46,82.48. Transportation fund, $1,332,696 on the dot. IMRF, minus $77,085.88. Working cash, $2,429,896.43. Tort fund, $162,136.48, and a life safety balance of $304,235.57. Earned interest at $403.78 for the month, and the money from the state and taxes was pretty light. We had state aid at $170,847.66, and that was it. Fund balances are in the packet.
Questions?
And as I put in this week's blog to the community, I always like to look at that last 12 months, what that last 12 months looks like. In the last 12 months, we have spent $180,000 more than we have taken in.
And will the interest rate be going down since the Fed's cut? You can believe that.
Better believe it. Very good chance it's going to go down next week again as well. So, yeah, I would say that 1.6 is not going to be there too long.
Congratulations on your neighbors, Mike.
What's that?
Congratulations on your neighbors.
Yeah, that's what I heard. His relatives moved right next door to me. So. That house is real nice. Very nice.
Need a motion to accept the treasurer's report as delivered.
Second.
Pappas?
Yes.
Missouri?
Yes.
Herman?
Yes.
Weissel?
Yes.
Duchess?
Yes.
And Hernandez?
Yes.
Motion carries.
And I didn't receive any requests for public comment. Anyone overlooked? Mr. Cox.
Fantastic. Before Mr. Duncan comes up, I want to bring up two topics. One is informational, and one is something that the board is going to have to do some more work on, provide some guidance. So let's talk about the unpleasant first, and it's the elephant in the room, and it's obviously the coronavirus and what that looks like. At the board level, one of the things that the board will have to determine is in the eventuality that the school does close, this hits home to me. I've got an Italian exchange student at my house, right? And all the public and private schools in Italy are closed. And so this is something that, we hope that it doesn't happen, but we need to definitely have a game plan in place should it happen. And so I just want to take a minute and kind of, go over what that process is. In our school calendar, we build in 5 emergency days. We've already used 1. All of those have to be made up. Once you get past that 5, then they don't have to be made up, but they can be made up. Okay? And so, not asking to have the conversation tonight, need to provide the board with some additional information, and whether it be at an upcoming committee meeting, committee of the whole meeting, sometime in the next few weeks, we'll follow up and have a more in-depth conversation. But I want to kind of get you to start thinking about in the back of your minds, should we get to a point where we are using a lot of Act of God days, then what does that look like? Are those days that we want to try to make up in some capacity? Are those days that we just let go? At the end of the day, that's something that, that this board needs to provide direction on. Julie?
Is there any way, like the state is mentioning anything about expediting the e-learning process?
Yeah, so actually there was an email from the state superintendent today basically saying that they're waiving a lot of the timelines on getting e-learning days approved. And that certainly can be a part of the conversation. And it becomes more part of the conversation with the amount of technology, great segue, right? With the amount of technology and the different opportunities that our students are getting. The problem that I have as an educator and a professional and a leader is, I've got a first grader, right? Really, really difficult at this point in time with what we have to approach anything near to what our elementary school students, especially our young elementary school students, get in a day. And then there are conversations about IEP minutes and all of those kinds of things. So can definitely be a part of the conversation. You know me, I have a conversation anytime about anything.
Yeah, if you could just look into it. I was really impressed when I went to the parent university with all the things available online for the kids that would be, good for enrichment. Of course, if somebody doesn't have the internet at home, which is a possibility, I know that would make a difference, but I thought that was great for that. Okay.
Yep, we also have internal meetings coming up this week to see if we need to, re-examine any of our internal practices with respect to, how we're handling that as well.
Yeah.
So, like I said, more to follow on that. If you come across something, think that maybe an additional resource might help everybody, don't hesitate to shoot me an email and I'll try to provide that when I do an executive summary on this. The other informational item is kind of a rough number now, but I think it's one that is significant and I want us to be aware of. Last year at the high school, we set an all-time mark with respect to dual credits earned. Through our AP program, we earned, our students, rather, tested out of 40 classes. 40 times 3, that's 120 college credits that they would have been eligible for. If you kind of stop and do that math, on average, a college credit costs a parent and a family. A college credit costs about $1,000. So if we're able to provide $120,000 worth of college credits, that's obviously a huge positive. That was last year. Our new all-time mark was 40. This year, with the programs we've implemented, we're on track to nearly triple that. And so the efforts that we have put into this are not only going to reap benefits for those high school students as they transition, build those pathways, build those gateways into whatever the next chapter of their lives is, but there's actually, when you stop and think about it, there's a real monetary savings at home for parents in our community as well. So when those numbers become finalized, probably mid to late summer, I'll throw out a blog on it, put some exact numbers up, and so everybody can understand the opportunities that we're providing and where our students are going. So
That's huge.
It was nice. Christy, so she would have been a freshman, but after her first semester, she was actually considered a sophomore, and she was able to register for classes before the other previous freshmen. It was really nice. And she's got a lot of credits going in.
it's a fantastic opportunity. It also creates a gateway into, and of course, Prairie State's not done, right? It creates a gateway into the local community college that once those relationships start to form and that momentum starts, then we might have kids going on to an associate's degree that might not have in the past. And so it's hugely positive. Okay. And with that, Mr. Duncan, you're up. Let's continue the technology conversation.
Very good. I have some handouts here. A little bit of show and tell. We're going to talk a little bit about capital outlay, so I wanted to bring a few example devices here. So here's an iPad, one of the iPads and cases we have. You have a Chromebook here, feel free to open that up and try that out.
This is the case that we sold, Yeah, oh, that's right, yeah, we've seen these because we have those kids. Anybody who does not have kids in the junior high or high school. Oh, you do too.
I did email it, but I just wanted to know again. So thank you for getting me out from behind my keyboard tonight. Appreciate that. Get a little FaceTime. So we're going to talk a little bit about capital outlays. We just kind of wanted to, Mr. Cox and I lay out our plan of what we've been doing, which has been kind of catching up, and then what we're doing going forward. So if you look at the second slide there, you can see this fiscal year, next fiscal year projected, and next year after that projected. So what we've done is we've had a large purchase of Chromebooks, iPads. There's been recently switches, networking gear, all kinds of stuff really, even updating some of the laptops and docking stations that we've had. So we've spent a lot on getting our infrastructure up and going. We've pretty much finalized everything to do with networking. We have a very solid backbone that should last us for, I hate to say 10 years plus because it's technology, so you never know, but I can't foresee really anything else needing more speed than what we have. And so I think we're pretty good with our infrastructure, and now that we've laid the groundwork for getting the devices in everyone's hands. So there's a little bit of a breakout. You can see FY21 and 22, and it kind of tells you where they're going as we decline with the capital outlay spending, and that starts to plateau off. The idea behind now being caught up is we can have a sustained amount of capital outlay that's more predictable. No roller coaster ride up and down. We'll have a regular replacement cycle that we've been implementing and working on towards. So there'll be a sustained amount of purchasing as some of the older technology phases out, and then you buy the newer replacement technology like Chromebooks and iPads. Usually that's about a 6-year to 7-year cycle. Chromebooks about 6 years, iPad 6-7 years, somewhere in there.
And in the last 2 years, we've spent a lot of time putting technology in students' hands. For this next year, the last bit that we have aging adult devices, and we have aging servers in the background. And so even though we're looking at spending less than we did this year for next year, even after this next year's expenditure, all of that will be caught up as well. And so then from that point on, it will just be, like Joe said, a sustainable rotation on student devices.
Where do you rate us now, Joe, from 2 years ago? I know we're caught up, but where do you rate us in technology?
Well, we've put in, let's see, almost 500 Chromebooks and 120 new iPads. We have our infrastructure in. I mean, I'd say we're top of the class, 9 out of 10. We could maybe always improve as new technologies come out, and those we're always exploring. We've worked with some touch TVs, which are a lot clearer. So those probably coming on the horizon. They're a lot brighter and clearer and a lot more accurate as far as the interactiveness. But there's, you know, the technologies keep coming out. So we've been slowly incorporating those. So I think we're well poised. I mean, I'm confident in what we're serving. There's always a budget challenge. We have unlimited budget all the time. That would be, you know, we could get really fancy, but I think for what we're spending, we're making a great value of the money that we have, and we're giving them the tools that they need. But it's always a challenge to, as the standards change, I think.
And so one of the things that we would really like the board to consider moving forward is the implementation of a $50 technology fee across the district. This is an initiative that positively impacts every child, every student. And so if we were to enact a $50 annual technology fee, then with the replacement rotation of student machines, that fee would completely pay for that. So on the student machine end of it, it would be completely self-sustained. And we think that that $50 is not a tremendously huge ask, but we also think it's one that would allow us to be very responsible in putting together a sustainable program to move forward. We're not asking for that tonight, obviously, but in the next month or two, when we talk about fees and fee structures for next year, planting that seed, we will be suggesting that.
And looking at the diagram with that, so are you proposing anything that when somebody is done with 8th or done with 12th, that those devices would then go with them as they age out? Or is that nothing?
We've talked about that. So the Chromebooks have about a 6-year cycle. There's actually, as you purchase them today, there's a definitive end date. Right now, you purchase them today, in 2026, they will stop updating. So how that's important to us.
So it wouldn't work for them.
State testing, yeah. So we have about a 6-year window. So once we get to that 4-year window and they're older, we'd like to try to use those to fill in the gaps. Machines that have been broken over the years, machines for subs, because we have laptops for pretty much all the teachers now coming up this year. So that's a big change. So now substitutes will need extra Chromebooks. Replacements, we have probably 5-10 students, maybe 3 a day, 5 a day sometimes district-wide, maybe sometimes more, 10 a day that come in with a broken Chromebook. Hey, it doesn't start. My screen's broke, my mouse doesn't work. Various issues, most of them can be solved pretty easily. Occasionally we have to send it out for parts or repair. We do most of the repair in-house, so it just kind of depends.
That makes a lot of sense, actually.
It's-
So the teachers' actual technology, they have desktops, but they don't have any Chromebook or laptop that they can take with them to meetings or anything. Is that correct?
Yeah, so what we're doing next year is we're making them more mobile with a laptop. It's kind of like a laptop and then a monitor. So you have the desktop functionality for very inexpensive of just the cost of a screen.
Thanks.
But then you have the laptop, which if you go to a meeting, you can do a lot of things with it, walk around with it, you can take that with you. So
That's valuable.
kind of making that mobility component in the classroom a little more there, when previously we just had desktops that you can only sit behind.
Yeah.
We've done some things with wireless mice and wireless interacting devices as well as touch boards, so those do help with that. So those, everything will augment, and basically just give everyone more options. So.
Great. Cool. Thank you.
I had a question on these, just educate me on the Chromebooks are a cloud-based or web-based. You have to have internet connection, is that correct?
You do not have to. They have the main components of it, like writing documents, spreadsheets. They're actually, although you do connect to it to sync, you can open it up without an internet connection anywhere you are, start a document, create it, and then as soon as you come into school, that document gets synced and backed up to the cloud. Where the cloud comes in super handy is where, let's say that a Chromebook is damaged, which, 5-10 a day sometimes, like I was saying. Well, now a student can just log into any Chromebook. We can just give them a replacement and say, here's your replacement. It might be a day till we get yours back to you, but until then, you don't miss any class time, you get no downtime. So it's really a neat way they have that. Now, granted, you don't get the internet when you're not online, so there's a lot of resources. Let's say if a teacher had like a web quest or like an interactive document where you had to click links to go somewhere, well, those links wouldn't work if you're not online.
But then they can access the Google Drive, the Google Docs, everything from their phones too, which, that happens, and Google Classroom. So even if they lose internet or something, they can still get it somewhere.
Well, they're on their phones.
Exactly.
You got a good point on that one.
Yeah.
And how is our capacity then on our servers for the internet?
Our internet speed and everything is right on par. We're not having any, we upsized a year and a half ago. So we went from, I think, 200 megabytes to 1,000, which is a gigabit. So we have a lot of overhead, and that basically just enables our streaming and everything to just, lessen your download right away. We haven't seen any problem with that. As we do approach any kind of limits on that, there's a lot of things we can do with our filtering technology to say, hey, if you're on the guest Wi-Fi and you're not a student or a teacher, you don't have to have the best speed ever, and it'll really help manage that quality so that the teachers can still get their lessons and the students have a quality. So there's a lot of adjustments and controls. You can, we already block a lot of ads just by default from our router, but you can make those settings more strict as time goes on, because that'll only help make the most of what bandwidth you have. So there's still a lot of headroom. We haven't even had to touch any kind of adjustments at all. So.
And I know that it sounds silly, but those kind of tools are of paramount importance to be able to get work done. I've been in districts where on the Thursday and Friday of the first weekend of March Madness, where your network completely bogs down and you have to call the IT department and say, eliminate all of this.
And watching it bracket, I mean.
Right.
Yeah, everybody live streaming games.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, so that
Right.
functionality is very important.
And all the staff do.
Do you want to take a minute and talk about one-to-one appointment? If you got a minute?
Sure. I did want to mention, I skipped over the slide a little bit, but we did just complete our one-to-one deployment at the beginning of this second semester. I think it was very successful. I think we have 618 Chromebooks deployed in 4 days. We kind of went grade by grade. individually met with the students, went over the condition, the functionality of it, kind of inventoried them as we, everything is labeled and set up for them. And went through each of those devices, and also a lot of shuffling around of carts. We don't need carts here, we've shuffled some to elementary, so we've done a lot of optimizing of what we have to give everyone that needs a cart, that didn't have one before, they can have a cart now. And we do have our policy in place that's attached on the back of the packet here that I gave you. And we've had pretty good success. There's been some damages that have happened, but it's really leveled off a lot. We were always concerned, you never really know how a deployment like that's going to go since you've never done it before. But after the first few weeks, we've really noticed it's leveled off. I mean, like today, I didn't get, in this building, I got 0 problems come in at all to my desk, but sometimes there'll be 2 or 3. So, but that's Monday, so usually Mondays have a couple more than normal, so.
So now the challenge really is, the board and community have invested in this process, and so now it's up to us as an organization to really make it impactful. And that comes through a lot of professional development, a lot of teachers having conversations with each other, a lot of going off-site, looking at what other schools are doing, how the other instructional models that they're using. And so that's going to be our focus, has been our focus quite a bit, and will continue to be so, because now the goal is to change the culture, is to change how teaching and learning actually happens. And that's something that takes a while. It's a process. Culture is always a process.
Any other questions?
Good work, Joe.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thanks, no problem. I'll take my show and tell devices then.
Thank you.
Good job.
Good evening. I wanted to point out a couple of key points on my report. First of all, under personnel, at the time that I wrote the report on Friday, we did not have any applicants for a bilingual position. We now have 1. So I just want to let you guys know that. And actually, it looks pretty good. So, I mean, I haven't talked to her, but she looks all right on paper. She has some teaching experience with Spanish, so that's good. Obviously, I'd like to interview more than 1 person, but I also know that these positions are in high demand, so if I don't get any more in the next couple of weeks, I'm still going to bring this person in to talk to her. So
Yes.
hopefully we can get that ball rolling. I know Julie talked a little bit about Parent University. I thought it was really great. It was Thursday last week. We had about 25 parents there in attendance. I really had no idea what it was going to look like. So I was happy with that. I was happy with the feedback that I got. Later this week, I will be sending a survey home with all the parents through email addresses just to kind of get some more of the feedback. I spoke with almost everybody on their way out, and everyone had really great positive things to say. So while certainly it would have been helpful to have it earlier in the year, I think doing this in a small setting was kind of great the first time through, so we can see exactly what we need to do to make this better for next year, and definitely would like to roll it out in the first quarter of the school year next year.
Well, and especially as you just started Journeys too. I mean, there was a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot.
It was so useful. It really was. So I hope that after other parents hear, then it'll go, yeah. It was great.
I agree, I thought it was really good. It was so nice just to get to meet the teachers, they're so pleasant.
Yeah.
They're really great staff. We love them.
And the SRO had a really good presentation.
He did. I know, we were sitting there as moms, like, wait, how do we turn this off on my phone? What do I have to do? Yeah, it was good.
We were sharing some tips.
And then the only other thing that I really wanted to point out on here, we started having conversations with our staff as a whole about implementing PBIS next year. So those of you who aren't really familiar with the educational setting, PBIS, the easiest way to explain it is it's kind of like RTI for behavior. So in the same way that we look through the RTI process and we have different strategies in place if students aren't learning, and we have different ways that we kind of work through the system and give kids additional help as needed. We do the same types of things with behavior. And as we're talking as a staff about PBIS with our PBIS team and our RTI team, not that we aren't here to help all of our students, because we absolutely are, but sometimes our RTI meetings, we spend a lot of times talking about students' behavior, if that's what is happening in the classroom, to where now we'll really have two separate ways to only talk about academics in this area and then only focus on behavior in this other area. So definitely at the beginning of next year, if you take a tour of the school, things are going to look different. We're going to have lots of signs everywhere reminding kids about positive behavior and what that looks like in all the different places we are in our school.
It's huge. It could spread to others in the school. We use it in my junior high. It's incredibly successful.
Yeah, and I think our biggest thing too is the consistency piece, so that the kids and the adults in the building always know what the expectations are, no matter where you're at. You know, we have a lot of aides in our building, and even if the aides don't know a student's name or know exactly what one teacher is using as a behavior system in their classroom, they're going to know and be able to speak to students about everyone's behavior, what's expected, no matter where you're at. And too, like, I think about our PE and art and music teachers, they can't possibly know what every teacher is doing in their classroom, if they're clipping up, or if they're collecting marbles, or if they're moving stoplights, or all those kinds of things that happen in a classroom. So really allows for consistency behavior-wise for our whole building.
I notice homework help has been canceled several times. Explanation?
Yes, when we are not, when that person is out, typically a sub isn't able to get here at 7:30 in the morning. So that's why.
Any other questions? Thank you. Mr. Meyer.
Thank you. I'm going to talk about a couple student activities. One, I'd like to thank Mr. Sarsny on taking the Boys Leadership Conference. And I always try to do this, if it's boys this year, it'll be girls next year, back and forth. And I ask them a couple questions on what did you like, what did you learn, and how can you help yourself and or your school. And first of all, I like the theme, attitude is everything, pick a good one. So I thought that was pretty important. And Tanner Hodek, it's the first person in how many years we've done this that talks about, I think the trip I went on was a privilege. Everybody that I ask, they want to go, they're happy about it, but I don't know if they've ever said, oh, it's a privilege that you asked me and it's a privilege that I go. So I thought that was pretty good right off the bat. But he talks about how to be a leader. It takes bravery, courage, and empathy. If you follow the correct steps, the correct path, you can change the way students and teachers interact with each other. This can result in students being more open with their situations and problems, rather than being afraid to ask for help. So I thought that was a pretty good statement on his part. Somebody by the name of Colin Maleki, or no, sorry, Maleka. Sorry, I don't know who this young man is, but I appreciate the fact that he and Danny were pretty close. It talks about the simple exercises are a great way to start your day and clear your mind. There are consequences for your actions. It was very valuable. I thought that's important, that people recognize there are consequences. It helped to stress that we have to be responsible and take accountability. So I thought those were his great points. Last one, Danny Murphy. Also talked about the basic exercises that we can do at home. You know, and everybody, so much money, you have to have the treadmill, you have to have this, you have to have that, and it talks about, we didn't need equipment. So they're giving you military exercises that you don't need equipment, so I thought that was good too. Then he again mentions the fitness instructor, taught us ways to stay healthy, find a good job, what is really a good job. So I appreciate the fact that, number one, they seemed interested, didn't have to ask many more individuals. Usually we get a list of about 6. I think it's between 7th grade and 12th grade. There's about 11 kids or so, 10, 11 kids. I try to find 4, and we thought the 7th grade class seemed to be where we were going to look this year, so I didn't pick any 8th graders. So I thought they did a great job, and they did a great job communicating back what they learned. And the last thing, volleyball regionals, 8th grade, we did win on Saturday, and so we are playing for the regional finals versus Reed Custer tomorrow at 4:30, and I didn't have an update on that, so we'll update you there. And those are my student stuff.
And the soccer tryouts went well?
2 of them. Yes, so we had one, then he broke down, I think he dropped to 30.
Okay.
So I think we had over 40-ish. Then Tuesday, we had 30, and then he has 18, or is it 20? Might be 20, maybe it's 10, is it 20? Did I put the numbers on here?
At the bottom.
Yeah, it is 20. So I think it's 15 boys and 5 girls. And we play next week at Mantino. We practice at Zion, I believe, twice. We've been inside. We've been outside, 1, 2. He runs a little bit outside too, but we've had indoor practices. He's at a parent meeting already. I think they did some, today we were supposed to go outside, but obviously it rained. So he had something, and then they were gonna watch I think a soccer match. And I don't know if that's what the kids were telling me, so I don't know if that's actually true or not, but. So, because I asked what about practice, they're like, hey, we're gonna watch somebody, I don't know if it's the European League or whatever they're watching, but, no, I think they went, the biggest complaints that I received, and not very many, were some of the 6th grade parents weren't happy that the 6th graders couldn't try out, but that wasn't my decision. The league that we joined, it's only 7th and 8th grade. So, but that wasn't, that's just what it is. And I said, next year, we'll have an opportunity.
Yeah, and the kids that made it, I mean, that's a really good span. I like, both genders.
You bet.
That's great.
Yep, we were pleased to have a girl, because, we were pleased to have some girls try out and girls make the team. I mean, that's the point, right?
Yeah.
To help develop both boys and girls.
Yeah,
team.
and there's some strong ones, so
There are.
they're gonna play well.
I hope so.
Mrs. Steins invited me to some Scholastic Bowl matches.
Tomorrow?
Yeah, they start up, I know. I can't make it this week. but have
Yeah,
to-
tomorrow, and our first 3 are at home. Yes, we lost, I shouldn't say lost, I don't know, but one girl made it through practice almost, but then got sick, so hopefully she feels better tomorrow. But it'll be interesting. It's heavily, I think, 8th grade loaded again. So I think 10 kids, I think, right off the bat, so it'll be good.
So 4:30 tomorrow?
4:30 tomorrow is Grant Park, I believe, and Moments is Thursday, and then St. Anne, I think, is the following Tuesday.
4:15?
I'll come
Was
to
it
the
4:15? Yeah, it might be 4:15. I think it's as soon as you can get there.
Okay.
As soon as we get the buses, but yeah, I think you're right, I think it's
Right.
4:15.
Okay. You still go against Crete?
I don't believe so.
No? My student, last year you did though.
We used to do several non-conference, but I
Okay.
think we've cut back, we maybe only do one.
Okay,
I don't believe we have Crete this year. I think we had 11 matches,
okay.
but I don't have it memorized, but I think it's 11. I'm not
Okay.
sure.
I'll check that out.
Thank you.
Any others?
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Again, I reiterate, it's never fair that I've always followed Mr. Meyer.
You're fine.
You're fine. There's 2 things in particular on my board report I want to address, not address, but comment on. The first one is Aaron Quintero. We had 7 students who actually took the 4-part AAPPL test for the seal of biliteracy. In order for you to get a seal of biliteracy on your transcript, you have to have a 570 or higher on your English SAT score. You also, or you get a 4 or 5 on your junior English Lang AP test. And you have to finish I-5 or higher in all 4 of those assessments, which means intermediate or higher. It's the highest level you can get at the high school level. Aaron made it. We had 2 other students who are 1 test away, so we're actually going to see if they want to get retested. One of them has said, yeah, we'll retest tomorrow, and the other one is still up in the air because his score was like an I-1 or an I-2. So, we're going to support that student the best we can. Ms. Rowe did an excellent job coordinating that, running that, and I couldn't be prouder with the additional little thing we had for those kids. And then the second one is kind of the big thing we did this last month. Mr. Reserve was involved in it. We had Chief, Lieutenant Emerson, Officer Mazurk, and then Officer Drew was there as well. We did our safety drill, and what we basically did was gave each teacher a piece of paper. It either said escape, barricade, or barricade and resist. So as we went through, I said, all right, there's the offender is at this location. And at that time, the teacher would have a conversation with their students. They would hold up in the door, this is what we're doing right now. And then I told the officers, hey, knock on the door, invite yourselves in and have that conversation. Why did you choose escape? Where did you escape? Why did you choose barricade? If you're resisting, what are you resisting with? For our first go-around, I thought it was highly successful. I was told that some of our staff didn't know the rally point. That is an incorrect statement. They all knew the rally point. They just happen to say the building literally right next to the rally point instead of saying the rally point. So if we have 95 kids over there, they're gonna figure it out. So I'm not too worried about that. There were two concerns that kind of came out of it, building-wise, that we're going to address. I know Officer Beck is looking into the film that you can put on glass to make it, I'm gonna say bulletproof, but I don't think anything we're gonna bulletproof, quasi-bulletproof. He's looking into that for me for the window between the vestibule and our office, just in case someone is angry at me and wants to take some shots. That's a please don't. And the second one is, it's more of a cost one, but again, y'all got me locks, you guys got me beacon, so I'm gonna keep on pushing it. If you walk down the freshman wing, every one of those doors is not safe at all. There's 4 windows in each one of them. They're not, they're definitely not bulletproof. They're not solid wood, so even if I am barricading, I can easily walk and go, oh, man, I can easily get in that. Or if we really want to be realistic, I can shoot through that and still shoot through the desks. So as we go through and we move forward, that might be the next step. I'll talk to Mr. Stunelo, see what a door costs and what it would actually cost to get those replaced. That might be the next big venture when it comes to the safety of our students. If you notice, these doors are all the nice solid oak doors. You can't really do much to them. These, I could kick them in and I'm not that strong. So. Those are my 2 biggies. Anything else from my report? We did have one of the officers learning algebra, I forgot to mention that. We walked into a classroom and we have super nice teachers. She walked up because he's a young kid and she goes, can I help you? He goes, yeah, I'm new. Oh, pulled out an algebra book, opened it up and started teaching it. Chief Smith did get a picture. I was going to put it in the newsletter, but I didn't want to. Our teacher took it really, really well. She laughed about it, but I didn't want to insult her. But it was very funny.
He did walk in the building, but he was caught at the front door.
Correct. Correct.
Nice.
And allegedly, he was going to talk back until he saw me.
That's good.
That was a classic, though. She did.
Welcoming.
Yep.
Very good.
That's awesome.
I don't believe we have any old business. Moving right along, new business. We need a motion to accept the resignation of Dana Shearer as a food service cook.
So moved.
Okay, Missouri,
Yes.
Herman,
Yes.
Weissel,
Yes.
Duchess,
Yes.
Hernandez,
Yes.
and Pappas.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Motion to approve the employment of Elvira Guerrero as a food service cook.
So moved.
Second.
Yes.
Herman, Weissel,
Yes.
Duchess,
Yes.
Hernandez,
Yes.
Pappas,
Yes.
Missouri.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Motion to approve Donald Pearson as a high school baseball volunteer coach.
So moved.
Second?
Weissel,
Yes.
Duchess,
Yes.
Hernandez,
Yes.
Pappas,
Yes.
Missouri.
Yes.
Herman,
Yes.
motion carried.
Motion to approve Sarah Laley as a high school track volunteer coach.
So, go for it.
First.
I'll second, sure.
Okay, Duchess,
Yes.
Hernandez,
Yes.
Pappas,
Yes.
Missouri,
Yes.
Herman,
Yes.
Weissel,
Yes.
motion carried.
Motion to approve the employment of Ross Madden as high school assistant golf coach.
So moved.
Second?
Hernandez, Pappas,
Yes.
Missouri,
Yes.
Herman,
Yes.
Weissel,
Yes.
Duchess,
Yes.
motion carried.
Approval to adopt and restate to the IRS pre-approved 403B plan document.
So moved.
Any
Second.
comments? Okay. Julie.
Okay. And a second?
That's me.
Okay, Pappas,
Yes.
Missouri,
Yes.
Herman,
Yes.
Weissel,
Yes.
Duchess,
Yes.
Hernandez,
Yes.
motion carried.
Motion to approve the bilingual teacher job description presented as a second reading.
Second?
Missouri?
Yes.
Herman?
Yes.
Weissel?
Yes.
Duchess?
Yes.
Hernandez?
Yes.
Pappas?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Motion to approve a second elementary cross-categorical class for fiscal year 2021.
So moved.
Second.
Herman?
Yes.
Weissel?
Yes.
Duchess?
Yes.
Hernandez?
Yes.
Pappas?
Yes.
Missouri?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Motion to approve a fiscal year 2021 administrative contract for Robert Ogden as high school dean of students and athletic director as presented.
So moved.
Second?
Okay, Weissel?
Yes.
Duchess?
Yes.
Hernandez?
Yes.
Pappas?
Yes.
Missouri?
No.
And Herman?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Motion to approve a fiscal year 2021 administrative contract for Michael Meyer as junior high school principal as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Duchess?
I'm sorry, I had a question. Can we go back?
On this one or the previous?
On Myers.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I'm pulling it up.
Executive session question?
Oh, do we have to bring it up in executive session?
This is something we need to discuss in executive?
Yes. Then, I mean, it's about, yeah,
Okay,
the specific arrangement, right?
Yeah.
we'll table that for now.
Okay.
Motion to approve a fiscal year 2021 administrative contract for Dawn Compton as District Special Education Services Coordinator as presented.
So moved. I would have a related question there.
So table both of those.
Yes, please.
Okay. Excuse me. All right. We had a question of reopening the discussion for changing from individual committees to committee of the whole.
Second?
Discussion?
Bring it to the floor.
Okay.
Pappas?
Yes.
Missouri?
Yes.
Herman?
No.
Weissel?
No.
Duchess?
No.
Hernandez?
No.
Okay. No motion.
Motion fails. Well, we need, that's it for the regular session. We need a motion to move to executive.
So moved.
Okay, Duchess? Yes. Hernandez?